point. Gautam Shah is with us, founder Goldilocks Global Research. Gautam, good to have you here. Markets at an all-time high on Monday and down 500 from there on Friday. And so just technically, I mean, how do you reconcile all of this? It's just 9 days into 26 and it just seems like it's a whirlwind of news flow and new stuff thrown at us.
Good morning, Prashant. Before I talk about India, let me just highlight that we are in the middle of a raging global equity bull market. So if you look at US, which is at lifetime highs and still doing well, if you look at Europe, if you look at many markets in Asia, with what Korea has done last year, Taiwan has done last year, China at a multi-year high. So the bigger point that I'm trying to make is that the global equity market bull trend continues. And in this, India has been quite an underperformer, in terms of the last year returns. And I don't think India is going to do anything special this year, at least on a relative basis. On an absolute basis, you don't need too much analyst acumen to say that we've been in a range for the last 6 weeks. I think 25,700 on the downside, 26,300 on the upside. It almost seems as if the market is not prepared to break out. And there is this too much happening on the economy and Trump versus the domestic liquidity that seems to be keeping our market afloat. But I wouldn't be too bearish. I do believe that there is scope for some downtake. But on an index level, with two pillars of the market, which is technology and reliance, not firing in, there is just too much responsibility on the bank Nifty to keep the market safe. So I think the Nifty will keep you interested. It will continue to behave like a pendulum, but I don't see it break out or break down immediately. But there are still a lot of stock specific opportunities. And I think this year is going to be about stock picking and theme picking. So while the Nifty continues to trade in the range, my case is that we will eventually break out on the upside. But before that, we need to deal with a lot of news flow. And hopefully the government does something in the budget that propels this market.
Do you have a target? Gautam, hi, morning, Rima here. On the Nifty, say for the next 12 months. And you spoke about this being a stock-specific market. Given that overall we could be in a bit of a range, what would your top ideas be?
Well, there's a very clear move from growth to value. Why do you think PSU banks did better than private banks? Why do you think non-ferrous did better than ferrous? Why do you think the entire PSE space has made such a good comeback in the last couple of weeks? So anything that was very richly valued has been a big underperformer in the last 3 to 6 months because the market does not want to discount any more into the future. Market does not want to discount into Excel sheets anymore. It wants to discount actual earnings. So keeping that in mind, we want to be in pockets where valuations are comfortable, relative strength charts are good. Metals have been my favorite. I think every time I've been on your channel, I've spoken about it. I do believe that the metals index can appreciate another 15% from here. So all dips are a buying opportunity. I do believe that the entire PSU pack is the opportunity of the year with across the board strength, apart from defense and railway. So X of defense and railway, I think the entire PSU space looks good. And I'm still pinning my hopes on the bank Nifty. I know it's surviving around that level of 60,000, but the way PSU banks are placed and the way some of the private banks are placed, this sector is also likely to make a comeback.
Okay, all right. Hi, Gautam. Good to see you in. Gautam, on the Nifty, what are the targets?
Well, as I said, this is not a market where you focus too much on targets. I think the range is very clear, 25,700 on the downside and about 26,300, 350 on the upside. Eventually, we do believe that the Nifty will break out on the upside. And if that happens, my working number for the next 12 to 18 months is 28,400. But it's going to be a very hard work to move up. And as I said, the bigger opportunity is in the mid caps and small caps and not in the Nifty and the large caps.
Coming back to the equity markets in a bit, but what about precious metals? All that glittered was gold and silver in 2025. Do you think both those two have run their course or is there more to go?
I think they've run their course. I think that's been the view for a month now.
Yeah,
we have seen a parabolic move. The studies are not supportive anymore. And I do believe that both gold and silver are likely to see a large price and time correction. And if that were to happen, I think the focus will go back into the equity markets. I would rather be very bullish on the base metals. I think that's really the trend of the year. You have seen what's happened to copper, aluminum, zinc, lead, nickel. I think base metals is probably the story of this year. And I think the proxy stocks in India and world over are likely to stand out.
Okay, all right. You want to give us a view on the big boy Reliance Industries? I was looking at it on the charts. That one was actually one of the leaders for the last few months. And very quickly, it's corrected from a high, the 52-week high, closer to around the 200 EMA. Now, that's an important stock from a Nifty perspective as well, more than 10% weightage. How is that looking?
Yeah, so we don't have a recommendation, but I think Reliance being 10-11% of the Nifty is obviously a very important stock. Just 3 days back, it was at lifetime highs of 1610. From there, we've seen a bit of a collapse, and it does seem as if Reliance has also run its course at the recent high. So I think it's just going to trade in a range with possibly a negative bias. So that's not going to help the Nifty and the entire market. So that's a problem area. And the entire technology space, I've been maintaining this view for a while now that technology versus Nifty or versus the rest of tech in the world, I think Indian tech is going to see a big phase of underperformance, maybe by not falling too much, but not rising. It's just going to be in a range with a negative bias. So these are the 2 pain points of the market right now.
Yeah. No, they are. What about the entire defense space? I mean, thematically at least, Gautam, there is one, अगर मैं हिंदी में बोलूँ एक सारांश जो भी कुछ हो रहा है उसका ये है कि defense, everybody is going to spend a lot more on defense, right? I think Trump last night basically saying 50% they want to increase defense. By the way, US spends more on defense than the next 5 countries put together. They want to increase defense spending by another 50%. So everyone, I mean, Europe is remilitarizing. Defense stocks, by the way, global defense stocks, BAE, Lockheed, so many of them, they've all done phenomenally well last 1 year. You think in India that is a theme which will make a strong comeback?
Well, I think defense is still a global theme because the valuations are still comfortable and I don't think they've gone out of hand. So globally, defense is a theme, but I don't think Indian defense is a theme. We all believe in the concept of discounting. And I think the next couple of years, all the positives are already in today's prices. And many of the top defense stocks are trading at very, very rich valuations. So I don't think defense is an opportunity. As I said, I don't want to do any sort of adventurous investing at this point of time. I want to be in brick and mortar companies which don't get impacted so much with foreign policy. And that's probably the reason I'm very comfortable with banks, metals, and PSU.
One slightly leaning on into the fundamental territory. Budget is around the corner, right, Gautam? Any plays out of there? I mean, matching expectations with technicals, Gautam? Anything at all?
See, firstly, I think our market has been supported completely by domestic money. And I'm sure the government realizes that with 30,000 crores coming in every single month. So the Indian investor has showed its confidence. The government has done a lot in the last 1 year with GST and the income tax measures. The RBI governor has been firing in for the last 6 months, doing all sorts of positive measures, which is great. Now the economy needs to show up. And I think capital market participants need to be awarded. So possibly the government might just want to do something on the capital gains because you want more investors in this market to stay committed for the long term. With FIs unlikely to return anytime soon, given the relative strength elsewhere and opportunity elsewhere in the world, it's important that our economy and our market participant survives. And for that, I think the government needs to keep delivering. Hopefully, they will deliver on 1st of February.
Yeah, they will deliver, hopefully, right? I mean, and it's a Sunday, Gautam, so we'll be, of course, in office and reporting. Markets have turned, by the way. They've completely turned. Just look at the NSE advanced decline. I know it's still early to look at the market breadth, but it just swung the other way violently. We were 1:1, and now it's 3:1, declines to advances. Some 1,900 stocks are lower, and about 700 stocks are higher. So on your screen now, the Nifty is down about 30 odd points or so. At this point in time. If you can just look at Reliance Industries, I mean, RIL is still in the green, but it's also come off the highs by about 6-7 rupees. What else? So the index is not down that much. Maybe you can just look at the indices, mid-cap and small-cap indices. Mid-cap index is down a third. Mid-cap index sold off 2% yesterday. The small-cap index, of course, has been an underperformer anyway. It was also down 2% yesterday. Small cap index is losing another 1% this morning already. So, yeah, I mean, things are not lasting. Things are not holding, at least at this point. These, look, pull up Hitachi if we can. Hitachi is selling off now, 3.5% on this one. So, it's so sharp sell-off, right, yesterday on Hitachi. And it's down another from the highs. By the way, the high today was about 18,540 and about 17,860 now. The other one is GT&D, 3.5% lower here also. Balaji Amines was a big mover yesterday on the upside. That's down 4%. And the other one is Panacea. Panacea Biotech was up 10% yesterday. And I was saying, this thing is, the dengue vaccine could be substantial, very meaningful, but it's 2 years away. Panacea went up 10%, is down 5 right now as we speak. A bunch of other names, Force Motors, huge outperformance, just a pullback. Thangamayil Jewelers recently, sharp up move, down about 5% right now. Godrej Properties is down about 3%, and so on and so forth. So a bunch of names coming through in the broader space that one is looking at. Gautam, just one last question to you. One name that you'd be happy to hold positionally and sort of accumulate through the course of the next few months.
Well, as I said, I think markets are in a difficult space and don't expect the kind of rally that we saw in the last 3.5 years. I think we all used to seeing India being the poster boy in the global basket. That's not happening anytime soon. This will be a theme pickers and a stock pickers market. And I think the entire PSU space is something that we really like. So the top names there, the top 3 or 4 names there stand out for us. And I think that's where our commitments are right now.
SBI, I'm assuming, right? Top is one of them.
That's correct.
Okay, fair enough. Gautam, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. Good speaking with you and chat again soon.